Ladies and gentlemen, Jay Haft here in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. I'm on location on the driveway where we live. What I have here is two 1972 Honda SL100s, okay? And today, I'm gonna teach you how to tighten the chain on a motorcycle. A lot of you know how to do it. A lot of you don't. And I'm gonna go through the different types of chains or drive systems and explain them to you. Okay. On this bike here, what we have is a conventional drive system. This is the old school type. It has what they call a countershaft sprocket in front, and it has a drive sprocket in the back that drives the rear wheel. Okay. There are basically three types of drive systems for motorcycles. This is the chain. This is the old school. This is the one they used for years. And then there's the belt drive, and then there's what they call the drive shaft. Okay. These systems need to be maintained, so I'm going to go through the different types. Okay. Now, like a shaft drive, a lot of times on a BMW, or almost all the time, they have a shaft drive on those. What it is it runs off gears, kind of similar to your car, but they have a different style gear in the rear end that turns the wheel. It has some advantages. One, you never have to tighten the chain. You never have to replace the chain. Should change. There's like a lot of times oil bath in them. Honda has had some models with them on there, and I actually own two of them, and I really didn't like them because the reason is when the torque is delivered, the bike can go up and down like that. It takes a while to get used to it. And one of the Hondas I had, if you braked real hard, I used, like race around, it would hop and stuff. And if you're going around a corner and it starts hopping like that, it could be dangerous. Not saying it is, but it could be, depending upon how fast you're going, how fast you're decelerating, stuff like that. So it's one of those things that BMW is better on it. They perfected over the years. They don't have as much, they call it torque vectoring. And then the third type is on your Harleys came out with later. It's a belt drive. The belt looks similar to a snowmobile, but it has pulleys and it has cogs in it, and the belt sits in the pulleys. And, they're amazing. Very, very almost maintenance free, except for you have to replace the belt. If somebody's sitting around and driving around and racing around and stuff like that, you're going to have problems. I got to go shut that door. It's going to make a lot of noise. So, but you can easily go, for me, in between tire changes on my Harley. I have a 2004 Harley Super Glide, without having to tighten the chain. But when they put a new tire on, they have to take the wheel off, and it has to be done on there. But, hats off to Harley, that the belt drive is amazing. Now I'm going to go back to the chain drive. One of the biggest things with the chain drive is you have to maintain this chain, okay? You can't just, ignore it, because what can happen is there's some worst case scenarios, and I've seen them, and, it ended up costing me a lot of money, somebody else's mistake. See, the thing is with a chain, when it gets real loose, it could fall off, okay? And then jam up in by your countershaft, and actually it could bend your shift fork or wreck your transmission in there. Very expensive. You have to take the engine out. You have to take the whole thing apart, split the cases. Some models you don't have to split the cases, but on these type of bikes you do. Okay. Not only that, there's Oscar. He wants to be in the movie as a great dog. The thing is, what else can happen too is in the back here, there's these bolts that hold that on. And the thing with that is those could get, when it gets wrapped up, let's say it gets wrapped up in the back wheel, it can get wrapped up in the front or the back or whatever. It could actually bust those out of the hub. I've seen it happen. You can see actually there's a little chunk out of that hub right there from that. You can see that. That's from what happens is there's just tremendous amount of force when that chain falls off and gets rammed up in there, and you're going to have some serious problems. And I can tell you, I bought a bike like that. I didn't notice it for my son. It was a Yamaha 125, and they when I bought it, the chain was loose. It's like they never knew how to tighten it. But what happened was the hub was so bad, I had to replace that hub. And if you ever did want to challenge sometime, try to take all your spokes out, put them back in, and get that wheel to be straight. You need a touring wheel, and even with one, it's a talent to get it right. So I took it in the Yamaha dealer. It was $200 for the hub, and 2 hours later at the time was $100. Now they're probably $125, $150. Then you have to buy all the components in there. At that time it was $500. This was, I don't know, 10 to 14 years ago. Now it's probably going to cost you $500 to $700 just to replace that, because the guy didn't tighten the chain on there. So it's very important. Another thing too is when you're looking at a chain, you want to diagnose, or inspect the parts. Okay, what happens is your countershaft sprocket here is smaller, so that turns quite a bit more. There's friction between the chain and the sprocket, and what happens is after a while the chain stretches out. You have to watch it if you buy a new bike, especially with the chain, because the chain is, when it's new, they stretch more. Okay, so what happens with the chain stretching is it sits on different spots on here. This one is good because you look at the teeth on it. They're not pointed. They're a little bit worn. But what happens is they turn into like super sharp ends. There's like a little space in there that gets worn away. And they can obviously see them where they bend. And the chain doesn't fit on there right, okay? So what it does is it creates more wear because it's just hitting the tips of the chain, okay? So a lot of times I always felt that I could replace the chain one time before I had to do the sprockets too, okay? Because it's, it can be expensive, especially if you take this into a dealer and have them do that. So, I would say for an average air expectancy on this chain, on this bike here, this has got a stock chain, and this one has a gold chain. This is kind of a show bike that I'm almost finished with. It's got to be painted, and I get the seat done and stuff like that. But I want to get that done this summer. This one has no title, so it's been converted to a flat track racer. Now, what's similar to is, you look at, there's different applications on all kinds of stuff, equipments in factories and farms and stuff that run off chain drive. And the biggest one you can probably see is a bulldozer. So if you look at the bottom on the cat tracks on a bulldozer, okay, they have sprockets on there that drives the track is like a chain, okay? And if you look on there and if you see points on the sprockets on there, it'll tell you that the undercarriage is probably worn, and you might need new sprockets and a chain on there, which can be very costly. That's why a lot of times when you look at ads for bulldozers, they say, a percentage of the undercarriage and stuff. So the biggest thing when you do this, like I always tell people, don't try to do something if you don't think you can do it. Have someone help you. Have a man help you, whatever. So these chains are tight, but I'm going to take them down and loosen them. You can see that I have this on a stand. These are real nice. These motorcycle stands are not that expensive. You can do it off the stand too. I'm going to do both ways for you. The biggest thing is, you want to take your time. You want to get it so the tire is centered in the swing arm. This is the swing arm on the motorcycle here. Okay, and these are the back shocks. You tire in the rim. And then the different components here is you got the cotter pin, which is your safety valve. And I always recommend a steel one. You can get aluminum ones, but get the steel. And this is your chain adjuster here. This is your sprocket at your hub, okay? And then I'm gonna come around the other side. This is your axle for the motorcycle too, okay? This is a spacer in between here. I'm going to show a different video. I'm going to show you how to take off the back wheel on here. Because a lot of times if you can take the back wheel off, buy yourself a tire on the internet and stuff, you can save a lot of money, because, labor is so high now and stuff. I got a little corrosion on there. I have to clean that up. It's just almost spring here in Wisconsin. Somebody said 20 some days. So I'm going to pull this black beauty out of the way. So I can get in here to tighten to loosen and tighten this chain. I'm an old guy and I always use a stool to sit down because it's a lot more comfortable. You always got to protect your knees. Okay. So bear with me for a minute. I'm going to put this on my stand. And I'm going to go ahead and do this.